The New York Giants head into the 2020 draft facing the same reality they've faced for years now. They have the 4th overall pick, and there's one position that stands out as a gigantic need over the rest, and that position is offensive tackle. The Giants are still in a rebuild. General Manager Dave Gettleman made some big additions in defense and free agency, and this team has enough talent in the skill positions on offense, featuring guys like Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, and second-year wideout Darius Slayton. And while the Giants have acquired these high-level skill players at positions, the offensive line has been a constant point of scrutiny. And this has been true dating back to Jerry Reese's early years as GM, and Reese's lack of investment in the position effectively wasted the back half of Eli Manning's career. General Manager Dave Gettleman vowed to change that upon his arrival in 2018 with his old-school hog molly attitude. However, he's yet to make good on that promise. Eric Flowers was the last offensive lineman the Giants selected in the first round, and we all remember how that went. Gettleman invested in the offense in the last 2 drafts, selecting Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones in the top 10, and while both have flashed their abilities as playmakers on offense, a terrible offensive line has held the unit down, limiting their abilities to utilize these amazing talents. Gettleman's attempt to shore up the tackle positions has been largely unsuccessful as Nate Solder and Mike Remmer struggled, and also the center position was ravaged by injuries. Kevin Zeitler and Will Hernandez could only do so much at the guard positions. The Giants are 12-36 over their last 3 seasons, and I think all Giants fans are eager to finally get back to the winning roots and rejoin the proud, passionate Giant Stadium crowds that once cheered the team on. However, none of this will be possible until they invest in the tackle position. 2 tackles in this year's draft class have been linked to the Giants more than any others, and those are Iowa's Tristan Wirfs and Alabama's Jedrick Wills Jr. When watching film on these tackles, both of them looked good a lot, but what really stood out to me was Jedrick Wills' explosiveness, his ability in his pass sets, his fluidity, and his consistency and his ability to shut down rushers no matter what they tried to do. Iowa's Tristan Wirfs will be remembered for his unbelievable combine performance, in which I think he ran a 4.86 at about 320 pounds. His explosiveness was off the charts, and he moved great. But despite this, he leaves a lot to be desired in his pass sets. This explosiveness and this change of direction ability often doesn't show up in his sets, and it leads to a lot of issues, and there's been a little misconception about what he can do on the field because of this. When evaluating any tackle prospect who's going to go in the top 15 picks, they're going to look good most of the time. And this was true about both Wills and Wirfs. What you're looking for are the reoccurring themes and the inconsistencies of their technique, if they have any. And when looking for these in Wills and Wirfs, it became abundantly clear to me that Wills was the better prospect of the two, and probably the best tackle prospect in this year's class. What stands out with Wirfs that puts him down my boards is the inconsistencies in his pass sets that will give him fits against pro-level rushers. So looking at this play right here, when you look at a tackle's sets, there's 3 sets that tackles can take most of the time. There's a soft set, or some call it a vertical set, where they set straight back. This will invite a lot of power moves by edge rushers. An angle set, well, they'll set on a 45 or an angle, which is the most conventional type of set, or a hard set or a jump set where they're setting quickly outside to get on the edge rusher quickly. So the thing I want to emphasize about Wirfs, and the thing I've seen in a lot of his sets on tape, and it's going to sound like throughout this video that I'm killing the kid when I'm really not. He's still very good, obviously, as I said before. He's going to be taken in the top 15 picks. But when you're splitting hairs with these top prospects, you look for these inconsistencies. And Wirfs looked really good most of the time, but when he got beat, he looked really bad. So I want you to watch this set right here and watch the first 2 steps. 2 steps quickly with the outside foot. That's how Wirfs usually starts his sets. And the inconsistencies, though, in his steps throughout his pass sets is really what scares me. He doesn't fire out into his stance. He takes these 2 conservative outside steps right here, and then this is what scares me the most, is this big 3rd step right here, where his feet are getting really narrow. He doesn't have a good base. If I'm an edge rusher and I see this, I'm either going straight to power, running through his chest, or making an inside move. Because once I notice this, he's not able to plant and retrace on an inside move, because he's going to have to plant off this outside foot, and this outside foot is going to have to come way outside to do that. So this leaves a lot to be desired in terms of technique, in terms of ability to stay with really athletic or powerful rushers that have great ability to notice these things in a tackle set and take advantage. So this rusher from Michigan doesn't really notice it, just continues around the edge, but still gets some push and still gets close to the quarterback. Watch Wills here and see if you see anything different in Wills' set here as opposed to what I just saw in Wirfs. Look at that. That is textbook, and that's really what scouts, I think, are seeing. That's why I think a lot of people have Wills ranked as the top tackle on their board. And then you can say, you picked a bad play with Wirfs, you picked a good play with Wills, but this is most of the time with Wills. You're going to see plays later in this tape that I show you where Wirfs is just getting beat badly, and it just looks really ugly. And while all tackles are going to get beat sometimes, I really didn't see any plays with Wills when watching his tape that he looked really bad. He let up 1 sack in 900-something pass sets, and I didn't see anything where he looked like he almost got embarrassed. And there's a bunch of plays like that with Wirfs. So watch this set. Fires out into his stance, his steps are even, and when you're an edge rusher, what I'm taught as an edge rusher to read is the tackle's shoulders and his hips, which are pretty correlated. They can be a little different, but most of the time they're on the same angle. So if the tackle's shoulders are square to the sideline like this, I'm going to try to beat him around the edge because I can't make an inside move. He's going to retrace. I could go power maybe, but he's got a really good base and he's underneath himself to be able to take that on. If his shoulders are at a 45-degree angle, which most guys will be at, you have your pick. You can try to beat him around the edge, you can go power, you can go inside because he's in a pretty good position there. If his shoulders are parallel to the sideline and his hips are vertical, he's not in a good position to take power. So that's when you want to go for a power move. That's when a lot of guys will go for a long arm and try to kind of torque the O-lineman and make an inside move there. But Wills just keeps his steps even. He's got great shoulder positioning. He's got great hip positioning. And this guy really doesn't know what to do. He can't make an inside move. He's not going to go power. Wills is ready to take that on, and he's not beating him around the edge. He has no angle, and he really shuts this guy down, and this is what I see with most of the edge rushers. Particularly, you'll see a play later, Kalyvon Chason from LSU was going against him. Some good SEC-level edge rushers that Wills just shut down. Now watch this play with Wirfs. Most of these plays are going to be Wirfs. Watch his outside foot, what I said before. 1, 2, big third step. And what is this edge rusher doing? He's doing exactly what I said before. He notices this big third step. He can't plant. He can't retrace. What am I doing there? I'm going for an inside move there. His shoulders are starting to get vertical, as I said. You can get inside there, and it's exactly what this guy does. He beats him inside, and Wirfs has no chance. Because in order to be able to stay with that inside move and retrace your feet, which is something that Wills does great, at this point, after he takes this big third step, right here, and this guy's already planting off his outside foot and starting his inside move because Wirfs has to do the same thing if he wants to retrace back down. He has to plant off this outside foot and retrace his feet to stay in front of this guy. But he realizes that this foot, watch it, it has to come out so far because he has to plant there. And this guy's already started his inside move because he's planting off that foot as soon as he notices that base. And Wirfs just had no chance. Next play, similar. Watch Wirfs. This time, it's just the inconsistencies in his steps and firing out of his stance. This guy's rushing from a little bit of a tighter alignment because we have a tight end in place. But same thing, big step there. This guy notices starting his inside moves. Wirfs has no ability to retrace. He's reaching, gets beat, and this is what you see. You see a lot of this. Wirfs chasing back to the line of scrimmage, falling down. Not a good look for a guy that you're going to be taking really high. All right, next play. This is what I want to talk about with power moves. I said, if you see a guy whose shoulders get vertical, you want to go power. So Wirfs is going to do the same thing that I said before in this set. 2 conservative steps with the outside foot, and then a big step with the inside foot right here. And as he takes that big step, he's getting his shoulders, not quite yet, but they're starting to get parallel to the sideline. See that? See how he's angling them out? And as he keeps going, as this guy gets further into his rush, look at that. Hips and shoulders are getting close to parallel to the sideline. And this guy notices that, and he's not in a good position to take on power right here with vertical hips. You want your hips more underneath you. You want them more facing this rusher. So he knows this, and if I see this when I'm in my rush, I'm going to a long arm power move, and I'm trying to get underneath this inside shoulder and torque him and get him out of the way. So let's see what this guy does. Exactly, long arm, inside shoulder, torque him out of the way. He has no position to get back in there, and then this turns into an easy sack. Now I want you guys to watch how Wills takes on this exact same kind of long arm power move from a much better rusher in K'Lavon Chaisson, who is most likely going to be a mid-first round pick in this year's draft. So watch Wills here. We already showed you his set and I showed you how he gets into it, but very similar in this play. Off the snap, fires into his set right here. He's gaining ground. His feet aren't getting too close together. And K'Lavon Chaisson really doesn't know what to do here. So what's he going to do? He's going to try to go to a long arm power move. That's what a lot of edge rushers will do when they don't really know what to do. They can't get a read on a tackle set. They'll either just default to a power move going right through the chest or trying to run around the edge. So he's trying to go to a power move here. And look at that. Feet are even, resets his feet, digs in, and Chaisson has nowhere to go. He doesn't know what to do. And why is Wills able to do that so much better than what Wirfs was able to do? It's because of his feet, his base, and the position of his shoulders and his hips. And that all is correlated to him firing out and getting into his set quick and really just having better steps and being able to move better, which is ironic because Wirfs did so much better at the combine. That's why I think there's this big misconception about Wirfs' change of direction and his ability to do some of this stuff. Wills retraces on inside moves, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, better than any of the tackles in the draft. So great steps, fires out. Look at his shoulders. His shoulders are pretty much square to Chaisson. They're not getting parallel to the sideline. His hips aren't getting parallel to the sideline. Even as Chaisson gets into his rush, look, as Chaisson climbs further, his shoulders are still staying square, relatively square. They have to turn a little bit, but he doesn't have any parallel shoulders, parallel hips to the sideline. That way, when Chaisson tries to go into this power move, he can absorb it, and Chaisson just has no shot. And he just stonewalls him. And that's what you see from Wills time and time again that really makes him so interesting to me and makes him the tackle that I just think the Giants have to take if they go at that position in this draft. Another thing that Tristan Wirfs struggles a lot with, which is correlated to his inconsistent steps and his lack of ability to retrace, are games and twists by defensive lines. He struggled with these in a big way, and Penn State noticed this. Penn State was playing Iowa this past year, and as they got into the second half, they started to realize their D-line probably told their coaches, hey, this guy can't pick up these twists. He's having a lot of trouble. And in the fourth quarter, it seemed like they just went to these twists time and time again, and they just kind of abused Tristan Wirfs on these plays. So here they're going with the twist in on my team, my defensive line, we would call this a 43. We count from the field, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 going first, 3 coming around, and it's a pretty basic stunt. But Wirfs, look at his set. We've talked about this throughout the video. It's a reoccurring theme. 1, 2. He's about to get into this big step. He wants to go to this big step, and then this guy's starting to notice this, and that's why he's starting to kind of brace and trying to come back underneath, but he can't because he doesn't have the position to plant on this outside foot because his steps are uneven. He's stepping too much with the inside foot and not even enough. And that way, when this guy comes back down, see how he plants off this outside foot, but it's too far. He doesn't have the room to retrace. He's out of body position. This guy gets inside, and look at that. That is just an awful body position for an O-lineman to be on. He's got no power. He's fully extended, and that's just a really bad look. And that leads to this guy coming inside, and that way when the twist comes around, his shoulders are completely turned. He has no ability to retrace, and this just turns into this guy coming free easily. And that happens a lot on these twists. Penn State did it the entire fourth quarter. This is similar. This is a little bit different. The edge is coming from a little bit further, but same basic idea. This is the opposite pretty much. This would be a 34. You have the 3-tech or the inside guy coming in first, and the outside rusher looping in. So he needs to recognize this. He needs to feel this with his inside hand. He should also already have known and reacted to this a lot earlier because he can see this guy planting on his outside foot. He's not threatened. He knows that he's not coming. And one of the biggest points of emphasis when I'm running this exact same twist that we run a lot at Lehigh is this guy needs to threaten the tackle. If he's not a threat to this tackle, and it happens with Patriot League FCS level tackles know to do this, if he's not threatening him, and he's got to be 3-4 yards away from Wirfs, his eyes should be here. He shouldn't even be worried about this guy until this guy gets near him and threatens him. But Wirfs isn't looking at him. He's still looking there. He should be noticed that this guy's planting. He should be retracing here, allowing the guard to come off. And the 3-tech's goal in this twist is to get to the back of the tackle. That way, when the outside rusher comes underneath and the guard retraces, we get what's called a ricochet, and he's going to ricochet off his back when this guard comes off and have a free path to the quarterback. So Wirfs doesn't recognize his plant early enough. His eyes don't get inside. He has no hand inside. He can't feel it. That way, this guy gets to his back, which is exactly what you want. The guard's then overextended here, and they both end up coming free. And that's just bad awareness. That's bad understanding of what the defensive line's trying to do. And once again, it's bad steps. Bad steps on the 1-2. I'm sure there's coming. Big third step. His feet are almost touching here. Big third step when nobody's even near him, and that just he can't retrace and come back. I want you to watch how Jedrick Wills handles this same stunt against LSU. Better rushers probably, but good steps. Fires out. Watch that first step. If I play it in real speed, watch the explosiveness of this first step. Bam. Pops out of his stance. Shoulders are square. Feet aren't getting too close together. Even steps. He notices this. His shoulders are square. He notices this tackle start to plant off his outside foot, and where do his eyes go right away? As soon as he notices this guy start to plant off his outside foot, his eyes immediately come down. He can also feel him a little bit because his inside hand is coming inside. But he comes down, he passes it off. The guard comes off inside. He retraces. He's stonewalling this guy. And watch him just keep there. He's got nowhere to go. So that's the biggest thing that I noticed about Wills. And you can see the differences in their talents. You can see the differences in what they're trying to do there. And it's really evident to me. And it's really if I'm evaluating these guys, I don't know how I would think that Wirfs is a better player in their pass sets. Both are good run blockers, and Wills is really a mauler in the run game also. He does a lot of great thing on Alabama's zone plays, everything that they've done. He moved guys downfield. He has a good motor. He seems like he loves the game. He just seems like the guy to me that the Giants need to take, and this play is just another example of a thing that he does well that Wirfs doesn't. So these are the two options. It's Iowa's Tristan Wirfs or it's Alabama's Jedrick Wills. I'm not saying that Wirfs is going to be a bad player. He has a lot of great tools. He has a lot of abilities. He looked good most of the time. But Wills is just on another level. And if the Giants are looking for an O-lineman that they haven't been able to connect on and get a good tackle in so long, to me, you have a guy in Wills who's got a much higher floor and a high ceiling. He's got great upside. He doesn't seem like he's going to bust. If I'm Dave Gettleman, I have to go with the safer pick in Wills and pass on Wirfs. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I am Eric Slater. If you don't follow us already, follow us on Twitter at NMU Podcast. You can see all of our content online at www.nmupodcast.com. Hope you enjoyed everything. Like, subscribe, and hopefully I'm coming back after the draft, and if the Giants take a tackle, it is Jedrick Wills Jr.